This is the Louie Tee Network.
Who else could it be? Me, your me. Louie T, welcome. You are here on lockdown coverage. Your man Louie T is covering the entire National Football League like a blanket. Of course, I'm your man Louie T, breaking this game down. Denver Broncos on the road taking on the Cincinnati Bengals in the jungle. Welcome to the jungle. Where most teams go in and they don't come out with W's. But this was a little different this afternoon, or yesterday afternoon. We're going to talk about that here in a second. But before I get started, if this is your first time here on this channel, Louie Tee Network, welcome! And subscribe to the Louie Tee Network for more great content in 2016 and beyond. Again, I'm breaking down this league like nobody else on this thing, man. So, sub your man up. Also, I'm on Facebook and I'm on Twitter. Twitter, @In the Lab Room is the Twitter handle. Go ahead and follow me. And while you're there, go ahead, use the hashtag LouieTLive to have your voice heard there or in the YouTube chat discussion if you want your comment read at the end of this breakdown. And also, I'm on Facebook. In the Lab Room is the Facebook page. Go ahead, give me that thumbs up and like the page. With that being said, let's jump into the breakdown of Broncos on the road taking on the Cincinnati Bengals in a way that I like to call likes, dislikes, banana in the tailpipe. So let's jump into this game. And we start with the likes of the road team, that being the Denver Broncos, and we start in the first half. Let's start with the likes for the Broncos in the first half of the ballgame. Emmanuel Sanders came out like gangbusters and where he left off, Demaryius Thomas and others picked up. But it was Demaryius Thomas that ignited this offense early on in this ball game. 2 touchdowns in this ball game. I thought Emmanuel Sanders did some special things. 9 catches, $117, couple of scores. That's big boy football against a defense that we looked at going into the season as one of the better ones in the league. Really couldn't tell in this ball game. They were torched, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Cody Latimer, thought he did some good things in the first half of this game. A nice kickoff return, showing the speed. Also had a nice catch on a 3rd down that was reviewed. Now, I'm going to need him to turn his hands up evidence to overturn it. Big catch by Cody Latimer. They ended up getting a touchdown on that possession. So it was a big catch. Like to see Cody Latimer continue to do some good things. And we got to see a little bit of that speed on the kickoff return. Good to see them utilizing Cody Latimer in a number of different ways to showcase his talents. Guy can run. You saw it on that kickoff return too. Almost came out of the back gate with that one and took it to the house. So good to see Cody Latimer doing some things for this Broncos football team as well. Likes for Cincinnati in the first half of this game. Great start offensively, especially on the ground. 65 yards rushing on the opening possession of the game for the Cincinnati Bengals. I wanted to know where did the run game go after that. I mean, Jeremy Hill started out like gangbusters in this game, and I expected him to have a 100-yard rushing effort and to only have 17 carries and to only have 97 yards. When I didn't think the Broncos did an effective job of really stopping him in this game, I wanted to see him tote the rock some more. They were struggling stopping that. I thought Giovanni Bernard had some good runs as well. I thought they needed to run the football more in this game. They were guilty of not running it enough last week, and I thought they fell prey and victim to it again this week. They were gashing the Broncos on the ground, and I thought they prematurely stopped running the football. Jeremy Hill, by far his best effort in probably the last 8 games or so. He has not looked this good, this spry, and this active, and he hasn't had this many trips into the end zone in quite some time. 2 touchdowns for him on the day. And like I said, big run on the first possession of the game. Really got this offense going early on. And I thought it was going to be a long day for this Broncos defense on the ground because of the way they started the game offensively with Jeremy Hill and the rushing attack. Marcus Hunt with the blocked PAT. This is what this man does. At 6'8", he did the same thing at SMU, blocking kicks left and right. He's done this before at the National Football League level. Marcus Hunt is a weapon on special teams, and he knows how to get his hand up and block kicks. He did it again here, and you never know what that's going to mean throughout the course of a game. When it happens, you just are ecstatic because you just know you put the other team in a position that they may potentially have to go for two at some point later on in the game, which the Broncos did, and they were unsuccessful. So when you block extra points, you put the other team potentially in a compromising position, and that could have really helped the Bengals because late in the game, they had a chance to kick a field goal and take the lead. Had they been able to get in the field goal range, they were never able to do that, and the Broncos ended up running away with this victory. So it was a big block, or excuse me, they had a chance. They were ahead 17-16, I believe, after he blocked that extra point. So it was a big block at the time, for sure, for Marcus Hunt. Let's get to the first half dislikes for both teams. The rushing defense for the Broncos in the first half, especially that first possession. Cincinnati just came down and gutted them on the ground. 65 yards, like I said, rushing on the first possession. You're not used to seeing that run D getting gashed that way, but I thought the Bengals had success in this game running the football and running it with regularity. I thought they did a really good job of running the football on this Denver Broncos defense, especially in the first half. And having a point after block, I just talked about that. Look, in this league, it's hard to get points on the scoreboard, period. End of discussion. Even if it's an extra point, you can't afford to have any of your points missing off the scoreboard. Luckily enough for Denver, the defense stepped up, the offense continued to score, and they made that extra point being blocked a moot point in this game. But again, you never know what these games are going to come down to. Can't allow that to happen if you are the Denver Broncos. Let's get to the dislikes for the Cincinnati Bengals in the first half. Adam Jones fumble on a punt return, and then to make matters worse, 2 plays later, he's beat for a touchdown by Emmanuel Sanders, E-Man Sam with the big ball for a touchdown. So not only do you put the football on the carpet, you then give up the deep ball touchdown. So it was a really poor possession and sequence of events for Adam Jones, the cornerback formerly known as Pac-Man, on that series of plays there. He struggled for a little while. Special teams hurting the Bengals in this game is my next dislike. You give up a big return. Now, it didn't hurt you. I don't think the Broncos actually got any points out of that, but you give up the big return to their return man, Cody Latimer. You also have Adam Jones with the fumble, and I thought that was a key point in the game because up until then, Denver hadn't done much of anything offensively. They didn't get going. They hadn't scored a touchdown yet. They only had a field goal to their name. They hadn't done anything of note in this game offensively until that fumble by Adam Jones and then the big ball to E-Man Sam. So the special teams side of things wasn't pleasant in the first half for the Cincinnati Bengals. Dropped interceptions in this game. Look, you're playing against one of the best teams in the league, the team that won the Super Bowl last year. You can't drop interceptions. You can't miss opportunities in this football game. The pressure finally gets to Trevor Siemian. They hit him as he's throwing it. It's a moonshot. The ball is just floating in the air for what seems like an eternity. There are 4 Bengals. Anybody make a play. Vincent Ray was the closest, got his hands on the football. It was a tough catch for him. Somebody needed to make a play there, though. Somebody's got to catch that. Nobody did. Missed an opportunity there. And I think Sean Williams' drop of an interception was even more egregious because he actually had some space to operate, and that would have taken some points off the scoreboard. Got to catch the football, man. You get opportunities to make plays. That's the difference between this year's Bengals and last year. Reggie Nelson catches that football. Sean Williams does not. And those are the type of plays that can change ball games. And they didn't do that in this game. They missed opportunities. And penalties, my goodness. How many defensive penalties in that first half kept Bronco drives alive? I can count at least 3 or 4 Broncos third downs were converted off of Cincinnati Bengal penalties. You can't make those type of mistakes and expect to win against good teams. You get them off the field on third down, not give them a fresh set of downs by committing a penalty. They had too many penalties, and it extended into the second half. They had more penalties in the second half of this ball game. On the offensive side, the offense got into the fray in the second half, where it was more so defensive penalties in the first half. They hurt themselves. They shot themselves in the foot. And one of those drives that went for Emmanuel Sanders' touchdown, the one right before the half, was aided by about 3 or 4 defensive penalties. You cannot have those types of mistakes and expect to beat good teams in this league. You can get away with that against the Browns, maybe. You can't get away with that against the Denver Broncos. It's just not happening. You move on to the likes for the second half in this game for the Denver Broncos. Trevor Siemian, my goodness. Just look at his numbers scrolling across the bottom of the screen. He blazed this Cincinnati Bengals football team. 4 touchdown passes, first career road start. And he goes out and lights up a Cincinnati Bengals defense like a Christmas tree. I mean, 4 touchdowns, well over 300 yards passing. It was a career day for Trevor Siemian. No mistakes. That's the biggest thing there, because in his first 2 games, he had made mistakes. No mistakes in this game. No turnovers for Trevor Siemian, but 4 touchdown passes on the road against Cincinnati. Bravo, young man. Bravo. And I thought he was clutch in the fourth quarter when they needed him. 2 touchdown passes in the fourth quarter, and there was one drive in there where he was like 6 for 6, 6 for 7, took his team right down the field and capped it off with a touchdown. They get another opportunity after Cincinnati turns the football over, and he hits Demaryius Thomas and with a big strike, quick strike touchdown, and just like that, this game was out of reach. Trevor Siemian, clutch in the fourth quarter, clutch all game, 4 touchdown passes. That young fella is coming of age right before our very eyes. They're going to make it tough on the Broncos to figure out who the quarterback of the future is going to be. I still think it's going to be Paxton Lynch. They're going to probably try to get something for Trevor Siemian in a trade. But right now, his trade value is skyrocketing because this guy is playing some dynamite football, going on the road and destroying the Cincinnati Bengals defense. Will Parks with an interception. A big play by him, the rookie out of Arizona, getting his hands on the football. Ball gets deflected into the air, and Will Parks is the beneficiary making a play. Good to see the young fella getting involved and making his presence felt on the football field with the interception, leading to that big ball to Demaryius Thomas to put that football game essentially away. Let's get to the Cincinnati Bengals second half likes, and it's just a forced fumble. They were able to force Demaryius Thomas to put the football on the carpet. I thought it was incomplete. I didn't think he actually completed the catch and made a football move and all of that good stuff. But okay, cool, whatever. Fumble. Cincinnati didn't do anything but go backwards with it, which is something I'm about to talk about here in a second. So even though they forced the fumble, they weren't able to do anything with it because of something that plagued them all day on Sunday, and that was penalties. Speaking of which, let's get to the second half dislikes in this game. We go to the Denver Broncos. And it's the Demaryius Thomas fumble. I thought they played some sparkling football in the second half. Offensively, they got it done in that fourth quarter, scoring 2 touchdowns. Defensively, they created some turnovers. They took advantage of some Bengal mistakes, and they made them pay. I thought they were clean in the second half with the Broncos. That's how you win in this league. It's being clean in the second half and making plays when it counts, and they did that in this game. Demaryius Thomas's fumble was the only thing I didn't like from the Denver Broncos in the second half of this game. Go to the Cincinnati Bengals side of things, and there were a lot more dislikes than just one thing. After the drive where they were able to force the fumble of Demaryius Thomas, this is what they did. 2 sacks given up. So Andy Dalton under duress, and we've seen this offensive line unravel before in the Jets game. Remember, they gave up 5 or 6 or 7 sacks in the first half of that ball game. They were struggling, and they give up 2 sacks consecutively, and then have a penalty for holding, and just like that, or blocking it back. And just like that, it's 3rd and 32 after you got the football in Denver Broncos territory after the Demaryius Thomas fumble. You've just backtracked 22 yards. I mean, are you kidding me? That's not what good teams do. That's what bad teams do. I expect that from the Browns. I expect that from the Bears. I expect that from a team that's struggling on the season, not Cincinnati. But now you look at them and you look at their record, they are struggling. And they could easily and probably easily should be 0-3 right now. The Jets should have beat them in week 1. So it's not a surprise that they're making these types of mistakes. They're not playing good football right now. Where's Brandon LaFell? That's my next dislike. He caught a couple of passes in garbage time. Where the hell is Brandon LaFell at? And Cincinnati Bengals fans tried to explain to me that they were going to be just fine without Jones and Sanu. I don't see that. This offense to me has not been dynamic this season. A.J. Green is having to do things on his own. The tight end position is about to get some help. I think you're going to get your big play tight end back here shortly. I think he's going to play next week, but make no mistake about it, you're hurting at the receiver position. Tyler Boyd is a rookie. Don't expect him to come in and set the world in the league on fire. Eventually, he'll be better, but he's a rookie, so you can't expect immediate production out of him. Brandon LaFell was the guy that was supposed to pick up the slack. I already tried to warn you that that's not a guy you want to be relying on, but I don't even think they're getting him involved in this offense enough. They didn't get him involved in the preseason at all, and it trickled into the regular season. He's not getting the football enough. He's not taking enough pressure off of A.J. Green. And this offense right now, to me, is stagnant in the passing game. And it's because right now it's a two-man show, it seems like. A.J. Green and C.J. Uzama. If they're not catching the football, if it's not one of those two guys, or Giovanni Bernard out of the backfield, they have nothing offensively right now. And that is a problem to me in Cincinnati. A.J. Green with a huge third down drop. Every now and again, it's A.J. Green. We'll put one on the carpet. Every now and again. He's got sure hands. You feel like you should be able to count on him, and most times, more than not, you can. But every now and again, he'll have a concentration lapse, and he'll put the football down on the carpet, and he dropped it in a critical situation. They needed to sustain some offense, get something going, and potentially put some points up on the scoreboard. At that point in the game, Broncos had just scored. The Bengals needed to respond, and that third down drop, to me, was the beginning of the end for Cincinnati in the fourth quarter. When he dropped that pass, the Broncos had already gained the momentum in this game, and that drop, to me, just gave them more momentum. They got the football back, and they were able to go down and make that count. So some mistakes in the second half for Cincinnati didn't help their cause in this game. And then Dalton with the interception. Things just started to unravel for them. As the Broncos started making plays, Cincinnati started to self-destruct, and you saw where this game was going towards the end. So big win for the same Cincinnati Bengals team. They're not playing with the same confidence. They don't have the same supporting cast. It's not the same team. They're not as good as they were last year. I've been saying that. I said they lacked the depth that they had last season, and it's starting to come to fruition. Guys aren't stepping up. The offensive line is struggling. The receivers aren't getting open. They're putting a lot on Dalton's plate, but he's not getting enough help. The running game, I think, is a non-factor. Until they decide to make it a factor, it's a non-factor for this football team. I thought this was a perfect game to allow the running game to carry the day. They were running the ball with success, and they stopped. For what reason? I don't know. Inexplicably, they stopped running the football, and I thought it hurt them in this game because right now they don't have enough weapons out there to get it done in the passing game. Not until you get Tyler Eifert back. And he'll be back shortly, but they're hurting right now. And so this is a team right now that I look at 1-2, that it's not time to panic, but you should be concerned about what you've seen from the Cincinnati Bengals to start this season if you're a Bengals fan. Meanwhile, with the Broncos, wow, 3-0. Who would have thought? With the way that their schedule was set up to begin, who would have thought they would have been 3-0 at this juncture of the season? Who would have thought Trevor Siemian would be playing such confident football? That's why they're 3-0. This defense is good, but if he was turning the football over and making a bunch of mistakes, they would not be 3-0 right now. But when he goes out on the road and throws for over 300 yards, over 60 completion percentage, and 4 touchdowns, with that defense, they're going to win a bunch of ball games if he can continue to play like this. This was an impressive performance by Trevor Siemian, and furthermore by this Broncos team on the road to win 29-17 over the Cincinnati Bengals. Let's get to some of your comments. Quickly, banana in the tailpipe for both teams in this one. If you're Denver, I don't expect them to be run on the way that they were in this game. I thought they really run on well, and I thought Cincinnati stopped and should have kept going. And I don't expect Trevor Siemian to play this way, even though I think this guy has immense talent and is showing it. He's not going to throw 4 touchdown passes over 300 yards and not make any mistakes. He's still a rookie, essentially, even though he's a second-year quarterback. There's still mistakes to come, but damn, this was impressive. I must say. But I'm not falling for the banana in the tailpipe and thinking this is what we're going to get from him moving forward. There were some opportunities, 2 drop interceptions by Cincinnati in this game. So there should have been some mistakes. He's going to make more mistakes moving forward, but this was impressive by Trevor Siemian, no doubt about it. And my banana in the tailpipe for Cincinnati is they're not going to keep losing games like this at home. I don't believe. You don't play Denver every week at home. They're going to get their act together at home. Remember, the first 2 games of the season were on the road. So they split those 1-1. They come home. You expect them to take care of business. They didn't. But this is a team that plays confident football at home. You're not going to be playing the Denver Broncos at home every week. I expect them to get their act together. This is still a good football team, even though I thought they looked a little lackluster, especially with focus. A lot of penalties in this game. I expect them to be better, especially at home. I'm not falling for the banana in the tailpipe that this team isn't going to be better at home. If they're not good at home, they're not going to be good at all this season. I expect Cincinnati to clean that up and get right at home and get back on track next week on Thursday Night Football versus the Miami Dolphins. So let's check on your comments and see what you guys have to say. Brown Shoe T2 says, the refs killed us in the first half and we killed ourselves in the second. That's the second week in a row the Bengals have had a ton of penalties. And you can blame the refs if you want. This is my mantra. Do not put the officials in a position to impact the game. And sometimes the officials impact the game without you doing anything to help them impact the game. But the Cincinnati Bengals put themselves in positions to allow the officials to throw the flag. They had opportunities to pick, again, just like they did last week versus Pittsburgh. They had opportunities to make plays in this game to change the outcome, and they just failed to do so. And when you fail to make plays, it's going to come back to haunt you against good teams. That's why you lost last week versus Pittsburgh, and that's why you lost this week versus Denver. You had opportunities to make plays in this game, and you just failed to do so. That's going to come back and bite you against good teams every single time. You make the type of mistakes you made in this game with all the penalties, extending drives for the Broncos, going to lose the football game, and that's what happened. Gary Schopel says, Shane Ray showing up with 3 sacks. Bengals had chances, should have had 2 picks in this game. If they get those, it's a different game in my opinion. I agree. Shane Ray did have a good game. They blitzed an awful lot in this game, and they got home. And it was good to see, one of his sacks. It was hard for me to give him a bunch of credit. One was a beautifully timed blitz. Him and T.J. Ward got in at the same time, and he got there first. Another sack was Dalton just basically going down right before the line of scrimmage. So it's just good to see them continuing to develop their pass rushers. Shaquille Barrett, Shane Ray, no DeMarcus Ware, no problem. They got so many guys that can get to the quarterback. That's what makes this defense so dynamic, is the amount of pass rushers that they have and guys that can get to the quarterback consistently. You saw that from Shane Ray and company in this game. And when the game was on the line, who showed up? DeMarcus Ware, Shane Ray also getting a sack in that sequence. So they were able to get pressure when the game was on the line, and that's what this team does in the Denver Broncos. Brown Shoe T2 says, the Bengals are leading the league in drops. It was mostly due to 9 drops in the Steelers game. Yeah, that was you threw the ball too many times in that game, first of all. I told you that last week. You threw it too many in an inclement weather game like that. Andy Dalton shouldn't have 54 passing attempts. He just shouldn't. So, it was bad in that game. And then A.J. Green with the drop in this game made it 10 on the season. And that was a tough drop because, like I said, it was a 3rd down, crucial situation. Can't have a drop there, but he did. And like I said, it just wasn't the Bengals' day. They didn't play well enough to win this ball game. Broncos get it done 29-17, go to 3-0 on the season. Bengals drop to 1-2. Not time to panic yet, but you should be concerned with what you've seen from the Bengals. They've played a tough schedule to start this season, however. At the Jets, at Pittsburgh, home for the Broncos. It's been tough. This schedule will lighten up. The Cincinnati Bengals will play better football. Do not panic if you're out there as a Bengals fan. That's going to do it for me here on this program. I thank you for joining me on Lockdown coverage. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the lab room. Come back and join me as I continue to break down anything and everything in the National Football League. Got more games to break down. Next on the docket, Titans and the Raiders. I'll see you a little bit later on. Remember, we're changing the game one live feed at a time. I'll see you a little bit later on in the day. Have a good one.